Good day. This is Global Watch on your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television. I am Abigail Okwade. On Monday, prosecutors at the opening of a corruption trial, along with an inconclusive election, accused Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of treating favors as currency. Netanyahu has pleaded not guilty to charges of bribery, breach of trust, and fraud. The relationship between Netanyahu and the co-defendants became currency, something that could be traded. Prosecutor Liat Ben Ari said in a presenting so-called case 4000. This currency could distort a public servant's judgment. Netanyahu faces 2 additional cases in what is first criminal trial of a sitting Israeli prime minister. The first case involves Netanyahu allegedly receiving gifts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars from wealthy friends. In the second case, Netanyahu is accused of trying to orchestrate positive coverage in a main Israeli newspaper in exchange for curbing distribution of free pro-Netanyahu tabloid. The third, dubbed case 4000, which will be the focus of Monday's first witness testimony, alleges that Netanyahu backed legislation worth hundreds of millions of dollars to the owner of Israeli telecom giant in return for positive coverage on its news site. Netanyahu has dismissed the charges against him as part of a media and law enforcement witch hunt to unseat him. He describes himself as the victim of a politically motivated witch hunt. His trial began last year and could last for another 2 years. Jordan's estranged former crown prince, Prince Hamza, says he would disobey orders by the army to stop communicating with the outside world and remain indoors after he was put under house arrest. He was accused of plotting with the foreign entities to destabilize the kingdom. The former heir to the throne denies conspiracy, but he has accused Jordan's leaders of corruption and incompetence. On Saturday, Prince Hamza released 2 videos to the BBC in which he claimed he had been placed under house arrest. On Sunday, Deputy Prime Minister Amyan Safadi told a news conference that the prince had been liaising with foreign parties about destabilizing the country and had been monitored for some time. He accused the prince of seeking to mobilize clan leaders against the government, adding that the plot had been nipped in the bud at the 0 hour. Safadi said officials had tried to discourage the prince rather than take legal action against him, but Prince Hamza had dealt with this request negatively, he said. At least 97 people have been killed, with many still unaccounted for, and thousands displaced by floods and landslides triggered by tropical cyclone Seroja in a cluster of islands in southeast Indonesia and East Timor over the weekend, officials said on Monday. About 30,000 people have been impacted by floods in Indonesia, some already taking shelter in evacuation centers, but rescue operations have been made difficult after 5 bridges collapsed and fallen trees blocked some roads, disaster agency BNPP said. A continuing storm has also halted evacuations in some places, local authorities said. Hundreds of houses and other facilities were damaged. Ships and motorboats sank as the cyclone set off waves as high as 6 meters, BNPP said. Powerful currents continued to flow through villages in the Malacca district on Timor Island on Monday. Even though the rain had stopped, some residents therefore hauled themselves to their roofs to escape flood water rising to 3 to 4 meters. Within 24 hours, the cyclone's intensity could strengthen, bringing yet more rain, waves, and winds, although it was moving away from Indonesia, the agency said. Li Yinxiang, 49, a construction site manager whose lorry slid onto a railway track and led to Taiwan's worst train disaster, where at least 50 people were killed and more than 200 injured in the crash, in decades said he was deeply remorseful and wanted to give his most sincere apologies. He was questioned over the weekend by prosecutors and released on bail, but on Sunday he was taken back into custody because he was deemed a flight risk and had a previous conviction, Taiwanese media reported. Reading the statement to news crew outside his house, Lee said he would cooperate with crash investigators and take the responsibility he should take. Investigators say CCTV footage from the front carriage showed the train driver had only 6.9 seconds to respond, and the train was only 250 meters away from the lorry and not enough time or distance for the driver to stop and avoid the collision. The probe is now looking into whether Lee failed to set the emergency brake or whether there was a mechanical failure in his vehicle. You are watching Global Watch. Coming up next is developments on COVID-19 and entertainment after the break. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You are still watching Global Watch on your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. Now, we begin with developments on COVID-19 in the UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said adults and children in England will be able to have routine coronavirus tests twice a week in the new drive to track the pandemic as society reopens and prepared to announce the next steps in lifting the nation's month-long lockdown, and the vaccine rollout continues at its rapid rate. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said regularly testing people who do not have COVID-19 symptoms will help stop outbreaks in their tracks so we can get back to seeing the people we love and doing the things we enjoy, end of quote. The government said free lateral flow tests will be available starting Friday, April 9 through post from pharmacies and in workplaces. Lateral flow tests give results in minutes but are less accurate than the PCR swab tests used to officially confirm cases of COVID-19. Lateral flow tests are already offered to school children and their families, plus those who have to leave home for work. Health Minister Edward Argar said the test will be paid for as part of NHS Test and Trace funding of £37 billion over 2 years, with 80% of that expected to be used for testing. Still on COVID-19 developments, but in India has reported a record rise in coronavirus infections of 103,558 new cases in a day. The biggest daily increase data from the health ministry showed as hospitals in its worst affected states are overrun by patients. Deaths jumped by 478, raising the total to 165 and 101 cases. The country's daily infections has leaped about 12-fold since hitting a multi-month low in early February. The western state of Maharashtra, home to India's financial capital Mumbai, reported a record of 57,074 new cases overnight. The state has contributed more than 55% of total cases in the country in the last 2 weeks. The Maharashtra government on Sunday announced new restrictions, including a night curfew and a weekend lockdown to prevent the further spread of the virus. Now in business, as a result of the surge in COVID-19 in India, shares in the country led losses in Asia Pacific on Monday, with multiple major markets in the region closed for holidays. The Nifty 50 dropped 1.54% to close at 14,637.80, while the BSE Sensex fell 1.74 on the day to 49,159.32 as investors grappled with a recent surge in COVID-19 cases. The Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty ended sharply lower on Monday, dragged by heavy selling was witnessed in banks, auto, FMCG, and financial sectors. Broader markets, small cap and mid cap indices closed over 1% lower each. Buying was witnessed in Nifty IT and Nifty metal indices. Elsewhere in the region, stocks saw more muted moves. Markets in Australia, mainland China, and Hong Kong were closed on Monday for the holidays. Now on the entertainment scene, at the 27th Screen Actors Guild SAG Awards, actor Viola Davis, Young Hyun Jun, Daniel Kaluuya, and the late Chadwick Boseman from ethnic minorities won all 4 individual film categories for the first time. The awards were held on Sunday as a virtual event. There were no red carpet to welcome nominees in Los Angeles this year because of the coronavirus pandemic. Instead, the awards were pre-recorded via video conference and squeezed into a 1-hour broadcast. The SAG Awards are seen as a key indicator of which films and stars may come out on top at the Oscars, which will be presented later this month. Chadwick Boseman, who died of cancer in August last year at the age of 43, won Best Male Actor in his performance as a blues musician in the 1920s drama Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Boseman's final performances were honored at Sunday's SAG Awards with his widow Taylor Simone Ledward, who accepted his posthumous prize. Viola Davis, on the other hand, who played the singer Ma Rainey in the film, won the award for Best Female Actor in a leading role. Accepting the prize, she thanked the beautiful Chadwick Boseman and August for leaving a legacy to actors of color that they can relish for the rest of their lives. Davis looked visibly shocked to win the prize. And that is it on Global Watch for today. For more updates, do visit our website at www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow and like our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. I am Abigail Ukwade. Remain safe.